Flush with babies. What dog?
Yep.
Save the people that club there. Could be the idea. Oh, it's. Could be.
The babies are free.
Most of them. This sounds good. They did all this. That, there you go. Okay. Thank you, everybody for showing up tonight. Welcome to the, May 6th, 2026, Planning Board regularly scheduled meeting. We have 5 of us in attendance tonight, plus Mr. Thabarge, our town planner. So we do have a quorum, and if everybody could please, join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any amendments to the agenda? Set. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to review the meeting minutes from last month? We have 2 sets. Yes. Any comments there?
I'd move to accept the April 1st and April 8th minutes as presented.
Second. All in favor?
Tonight.
No, we haven't.
I'll look pretty.
Thank you for asking. All right, next on the agenda. Informational exchange on non-agenda items.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I did include my monthly report to the town manager and select board of the work program for the planning division, and would be happy to answer any questions you might have on any of those projects.
You know what the status of forming the Economic Development Committee is?
Well, understandably, the select board has been a little bit tied up on budget issues and other matters, so we're expecting that right after the town meeting, that project will get rolling.
Okay.
Okay.
And so we'll talk about at that time, like who might want to join from our board, right? Okay.
Right, that'd be good.
Okay.
Okay.
I had that question.
Any residents, on non-agenda items? Any comments from any residents on non-agenda items? Any non-residents that have comments on non-agenda items? Okay, none. Next, continuing business. Public hearing on preliminary plan for Ivy Ridge subdivision at 335 Newell Brook Road, map 5, lot 61. We're gonna open this up for public comment. I do have some rules that I need to walk through. You'll please give me a few minutes to go through this. So the public meeting for this subdivision is now open before the Durham Planning Board on the application for Ivy Ridge subdivision. Rivi LLC, Acorn Engineering is the owner's rep, and the project is located at 335 Newell Brook Road. The purpose of this meeting is to hear and receive oral and written testimony relevant to the board's review of this application under the town's adopted ordinances and standards. This hearing is not a forum to debate broader town policies or growth management issues, which are established by town meeting and must be applied by the planning board. The board's authority is limited to determining whether the application meets or fails the adopted subdivision standards. Before we begin, I'll review the procedures and ground rules. Under the planning board's bylaws, the chair is responsible for describing the purpose of the hearing and procedures to be followed. The board may receive oral or documentary evidence, but must exclude testimony that is irrelevant or unduly repetitious. I'll determine the relevance of testimony or evidence presented. Any board member may challenge that determination by motion, subject to a majority vote of the board. All testimony will be taken in an orderly fashion. Speakers are asked not to interrupt others. The chair may impose reasonable time limits as necessary to ensure that everyone who wishes to speak has an adequate opportunity to be heard. How many people are here for the Ivy Ridge subdivision?
Just one.
Okay, so no time limits will be set on that. All right. All questions and comments shall be directed to the chair. I'm the chair. I'll then direct the questions to the appropriate party, whether that is the applicant's consultant, staff, or another party for a response. Direct questioning of parties by members of the public is not permitted. All parties will be given an opportunity to present information, submit rebuttal evidence, and conduct cross-examination of other parties through the chair within reasonable limits to prevent an abuse of process. For the record, an aggrieved party is defined in the land use ordinance as a person who can demonstrate a particular injury resulting from the approval or denial of the application. An injury shared equally by all residents of the town does not constitute a particular injury. The application materials and staff comments have been made available in advance. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to receive public input on the application itself, not to provide a general explanation of the review process or ordinance requirements. These procedures are necessary to ensure fairness, protect due process rights for all parties, and allow the board to meet its legal deadlines for decision-making. If you get up to make comment, please provide your name and address for the meeting record. Okay, phew. All right. So, Mr. Burgess, if you'd like to start us off.
How would you like me to project this to you as normal?
To the public, it's a public hearing, so.
George, are you able to pull up the site plan, the overall site plan?
Do you have a pointer?
Yeah. Thank you. So the proposed project is, well, first of all, my name is Craig Burgess with Acorn Engineering. I met many of you last week. I am the project manager representing the applicant, Rivi LLC. I'm here with Hunter today, also from Acorn Engineering. The proposed project is a 12-lot cluster subdivision. As you can see, it'll be served by a single road to serve all 12 lots. Each lot will have greater than 40,000 square feet of usable land area. Overall, the project will result in about 0.86 acres of new impervious area and just over 2.5 acres of overall kind of developed area for the construction of the roadway. The homes shown on this map are for illustrative purposes only, to demonstrate that the lots are buildable. The project will result in no wetland impact. So that was an important consideration when we initiated the design. The wetlands were done by mainly soils, and you can see there's a larger wetland area up on the north side with an unnamed brook over here in the northwest corner. So the open space is this entire parcel here. So it's one contiguous open space area, which is over 60% of the overall parcel. The amount of wetlands on the property, on the within the open space represent less than 50% of that overall open space area as well. We are keeping there's a strip of open space here, but that wasn't intended to meet the open space calculations. We could completely get rid of that and still meet those open space calculations. Underground electric will be brought in from this is Newell Brook Road right here. So underground electric will be brought in from a utility pole at about this location. It'll be brought across the street with overhead electric telecommunications, and then from there, it's underground the rest of the way. Each lot will be served by individual wastewater disposal systems as well as wells, and we've made sure that there will be at least 100 feet of separation from any well and any disposal system as part of this project. As part of the stormwater, that's another item that we'll have to look at for this project. The stormwater is being handled through 2 detention basins right about here near Newell Brook, and that will discharge directly to the roadside ditch. And then there's another detention basin right here, which will outlet right at there's a wetland area at this location. Some of the comments that we received from the planning board is just to make sure that those detention basins are 20 feet from the property line. Since the last planning board meeting, we have revisited that stormwater and we can make it work. We're going to narrow up. This detention basin was the difficult one to try to push at least 20 feet, but we have been able to make that work since. So the revised plans as part of that final application, when we get into substantial stormwater review, it will show generally the detention basins at the same location. This one skinnies up quite a bit. This one gets slightly bigger. So we divert just a little bit more runoff to this detention basin to make those numbers work. So there will be a forthcoming stormwater management report that addresses that. Because the project won't create more than 1 acre of new impervious surface, a stormwater law permit through Maine DEP is not required. So there's no state permitting as part of this project because we fall below the thresholds. Also, because there's no wetland impact as part of this project, we don't have to submit permits to Army Corps or DEP for the wetland permit. So we're completely avoiding wetland impact for the roadway and for the lot development. As part of the preliminary plans, there was an area in this corner of the parcel, the southeast corner, that was identified as a potential vernal pool area. Mainly soils did get out. And they finished that vernal pool assessment just about a week and a half ago, and they determined that it is not a significant vernal pool. It did have some of the indicator species within that vernal pool, which are like wood frogs and salamanders, but the amount of egg masses that were actually counted are less than the thresholds that require it to be classified as a significant vernal pool. So this 250-foot buffer that's shown on the plans, that will go away as part of the final plans. However, the lot configuration will remain the same. So there'll be no change to the plans other than just removing that 250-foot vernal pool setback. As part of the preliminary application, we submitted a very detailed plan set with stormwater plans. We did resubmit stormwater plans to better identify the soil's type and how they're classified for drainage. There's also a usable lot area table here. That did include drainage easements, but that will be revised to take out drainage easements as part of that calculation. There's also net residential calculations in this top left corner of the plan, which showed that up to 12 lots are the land area will allow for 12 lots, and that's what we're proposing at this time. But the lots are they're all pretty good size lots. They're about all around 50,000 square feet in total area, give or take. But the intent of this subdivision is to kind of meet the characteristic of the surrounding residential uses. We're proposing a 50-foot no disturb buffer here, and the hope would be that over time that will grow in and provide some additional buffering. Where there's a detention basin proposed here, we're proposing some some vegetation for visual buffering from this property at this location. So I guess with that, I'll turn it back over to the board with comments and back over to the public for the public hearing.
Are there any public comments?
Yeah, so this is Jess Costa. I live on 35 Brianna Drive. I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission. We attended the site walk that y'all did in January. And the commission sees there's positive aspects of the proposal, including the fact that it's a cluster subdivision and that it's adjacent to an existing roadway. Minimizes impacts to wildlife habitat and the wetlands. And we definitely see the benefit of the proposed open spaced area for wildlife and for maintaining the watershed quality. And one thing we feel strongly about is avoiding tree clearing in the summer from May 15th to August 15th. When bats and birds are breeding. So if you avoid tree clearing during that time and avoid impacting listed bat species, as well as federally migratory bird protected act bird species. We think that this time of year tree clearing restriction would be part of the approval of the permit. And yeah, other good things, even though that's not a significant pool, that's great that the layout's not going to change. So it technically still there'll be a buffer around that small vernal pool. And there was, I did have a question about a potential spring or spring box on site. I wasn't at the site visit, so I'm not really sure if there is a spring on site, but I just wondered if the applicant's representative could talk about if there is a spring on site and what protections might be for that.
I am not aware of a spring on site. Do you know generally where it would be located?
There was an adjacent landowner that mentioned it. Maybe we'll need to follow up after the meeting with some more specifics, because like I said, I wasn't at that site walk.
Sure.
Alan, you were at that.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't remember,
Land-
not at all. Granted,
No.
we were there in sub-freezing weather.
Spring meeting. I don't recall a neighbor being present at the sidewalk.
Okay,
Is that?
all right, I'll follow up with the person in the committee. And we'll get back to you if there's still any concern. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I have one question. Is there, some sort of zoning in Durham as far as like,
I'm
acreage?
sorry, could you please say your name?
Oh,
and-
sorry,
and address?
Jessica Copeland on Swamp Road.
Okay.
Is there some, zoning as far as buildable lots that there needs to be like 2 acres per building, or is that, am I wrong about that?
Greg, do you want to describe the clustered subdivision?
Yeah, so because this is a
Clustered, you don't have to worry about that because it's just one road in, is that?
no, the cluster subdivision standards allow the lots to be smaller. However, it also requires the open space out in the back. So kind of like a trade-off with the smaller lots, we're trading this big block of land as open space.
Got it.
And there's some wooded areas like further around the site where it will provide like just a bigger wooded area for wildlife habitat. Just it's better for the overall habitat ecosystem. So that's kind of the trade-off within this particular zone. So the 45,000, that's the minimum lot size with the cluster. But if this was not a cluster, I believe is it 90,000?
90,000.
It would be not 90, so if this was a traditional subdivision, they would be 90,000 square foot, so 2 acre lots roughly.
Mhm. Okay.
Any other public comments?
Roger right here, Millbrook Road, right across the street. Those no disturbed areas, about how big is that no disturbed area?
This area,
Yeah.
that's a 50-foot buffer that's required through the ordinance as part of this project.
Okay, were you guys planning on planting any kind of tree line or?
Right now, it's not shown in the plans, but that's something we could consider.
Excuse me.
Yeah, for the planning board members that weren't at the site walk, this area doesn't have much existing vegetation that would offer visual habitat, so that would be certainly a consideration by the board.
Would you like to point out where you are proposing the screen buffer?
Yeah, so it would be kind of along the property's frontage.
I mean, your current layout shows a buffer, screen buffer on the south edge there.
So
Right there.
we are providing a buffer right there. So there's like staggered evergreen trees right there
Yeah.
for a visual buffer, but right here in the front, that buffer zone, we don't have any trees proposed within that area.
What about on the, around the south side and the south and the west, I guess, of that outlot that has the house that's there now and the barn that's there right now, you get that kind of L
Right here?
down, yes, so that back area right there, you planning anything there?
That lot's staying as is.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing. And, thank you all for your comments. And we'll move into our review. All right. You have anything else to add, Craig?
I think I discussed most that I had to add during the presentation.
Okay. Any comments on the application?
I would like confirmation that nothing additional was submitted between our last meeting and today. The site plans, the application materials is all the same, right? Since it's been.
The only supplemental information we submitted were just the revised stormwater maps that showed like the
The
actual
soils?
soil designate.
Yes, okay, yeah, aside from that, but everything else is still dated March
Yeah, and-
26, right? I
Yes.
believe, okay.
And the reason why, I know we did get into the stormwater redesign, but I also understood that the board's not considering the full stormwater design as part of the preliminary, so I was just waiting to get into that resubmission with the final to show the stormwater
That's
changes.
fine, I just wanted confirmation that there wasn't anything.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So we will have this peer reviewed, but can you explain how the poorly drained soils aren't affecting?
So bring up a good question. We did look into that a little bit more today. They're on the plan, they're called somewhat poorly drained. And that was the somewhat poorly drained was associated with the drainage or the hydrologic soil group. But then when you go into the particular soil types, so if you were to like zone, one of the changes we're going to make with the final is we're going to, instead of looking at the hydrologic soil group, we're going to focus in on the type of soils. So when you look at the type of soils, that particular, the soil that was identified as a hydrologic group C, which is that blue shade right there, which is a big chunk. I think, is that the BGB?
Yep.
And that particular soil actually, what's the classification of that for drainage? You have that?
NGB is.
We did print it out. So
Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah,
So-
moderately well drained.
it's actually moderately well drained. So we went through all, when you look at the specific soil types, they're all actually well drained. But when you looked at the soil class or the hydrologic soil group is where it broke it out as somewhat poorly drained, but that's really one of the revisions we would make in with the finals, that these are actually all well drained soils on the site. Are there any exceptions to that within the property? I don't.
Leave the AD
So the AD is Adams, and that's like about as well drained as you can get in Maine. That's excessively well drained. The blue was the one we just discussed. So these are all really well drained soils. When I did get a chance to walk the site prior to the snow, I could tell that these were sandy loams that were generally good for this. And then we did submit the test pit data that generally shows that each lot has there are pretty good soils out there to support the septic systems.
And I think it might have been Walpole. Is it Walpole that was the D soils, right? I think.
A/, I think they're AD, right?
Oh,
Is that
okay.
right?
Okay, so maybe just some edits to your application, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So, in the bottom, I think right of this plan, the drainage classifications was associated with the hydrologic soil group, but we're going to change that so that it's directly tied to the specific soil type.
Mhm.
And they're all well drained soils as identified.
And that is shown in the test pits, right?
Yeah,
That were done.
there were test pits done that didn't identify the soil classification. It just showed that it identified like sandy loam, and that it identified the
Drainage, right? The
Yeah.
characteristics.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is where over here the drainage classification was tied to the hydrologic soil group. So this drainage classification with the final app would move over to here and then be specific to each one of these soils. And in that case, all those soils, with the exception of like Scantic, and Scantic could even be removed off that because there are no Scantic soils that were shown on this. So Scantic is a poorly drained soil, but that's not within the limits of this project. It was probably pulled from because it's somewhere out.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
further north of the property, outside the property limits.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
The question I have, it's on. I realize that you've done, I believe you had listed 3 other developments that you had done, correct? In Brunswick, I believe. The reason I'm asking, under the financial capacity, in the letter that we received from
from
Bath
the-
Savings.
yeah.
And they specifically say the approved financing is contingent based on, but not limited to, appraisal of the subject property. And I'm just, is that something you anticipate doing at a later stage, or? The key word that I see there was contingent.
Contingent, yeah. Would you like to see that done as part, like, I'll have to take a look at it right now to see exactly how that's worded. Oh, thank
Can I address that? So typically at final stage, they would be required to get an engineer's estimate for all the infrastructure. And then the typical documentation of financial capacity is a letter of commitment from a bank stating that they reviewed those project estimates and the pro forma of the developer, and that they were prepared to issue credit for the project if the board approves it. So that's the typical way. There are other ways of doing it. But that does raise a question that I had shared with the chairman, is that the applicant is Rivi LLC. And the projects cited as demonstration of technical capacity were not done according to the public record by Rivi, LLC. They were done by Snell Construction LLC. So there's a question in terms of the documentation being actually of the developer of this project, and that should be clarified for final approval.
Okay, we'll get that taken care of.
Yeah, I certainly understand that these are some expenses that you wouldn't want to be occurring until you got preliminary approval from the planning board.
So who is Rivi LLC?
What do you mean by who is Rivi LLC? That
Well, I guess if, again, getting back to the technical ability part, if Rivi was not the developer for these three projects, who is Rivi?
similar ownership as Rivi LLC.
Which is,
Johnny Snell is associated with it.
okay. Thank you.
John Snow.
Yeah.
Are we open for discussion?
We are,
Oh, we're still talking about. Sorry.
the application, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So regarding the vernal pool, so that I think is great news. It's not significant, but like Jess mentioned, I do love the fact that, you know, the layout isn't changing. You're just removing the buffer that's not needed anymore.
Right.
But that protection is still somewhat there, which is great.
Yeah.
You still need to follow back up with the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife with the results
Yes.
of the vernal pool survey, right? So
Yes.
that's still, okay. It's more of a question. Confirming
We
we're doing
can do that now that this
Right.
information just came
Just
in
came
within the
in,
last
yeah.
week. Yeah.
Yeah, per the letter from the agency, it does ask to have the survey results sent back to them. Okay, great. Any word from the fire department yet? Did you hear back from them?
I did not. I'll circle back though.
Yeah.
The hammerhead was designed per the town standard,
Mhm.
so wouldn't expect any hopefully major comments on the turnaround design, but
Well, since all the homes are gonna be sprinkled, correct?
yes.
Therefore, we're not developing a pond to,
Right. I still think it's good to have the fire department,
Yeah.
right? Just, yep.
There are a couple of attachments missing, the HydroCAD calculations. Are they gonna be provided in the final?
We did provide him. I think George intentionally removed
It's just all the.
Okay, you mentioned that, got it, okay. Yeah.
200 pages long.
Last month we had a comment about, changing the species of the plantings on the west side
Yes.
there. You still planning to change that?
And that was we can if that could be something considered as part of the next submission. That'd be great. But and I know that there was comment about not having a species that attracts deer. Is that correct?
correct.
Okay.
Right. They become unsightly.
I didn't see anything from Casella
Yeah, that's that.
on
Trash
this.
pickup.
Yeah, trash pickup.
Yeah, what are we calling that? Letter of
Letter of
Letter of
intention, I
intention.
believe.
Intent to
Yeah.
serve, or
Yeah, intent to serve.
intent to serve.
is that the plan? It'll be all curbside trash pickup?
It appears that with the change in our trash and recycling pickup that Casella has been receptive to going in on subdivisions.
Yeah, I think they're getting used to the process of putting together ability to serve letters now. That seems to be a common request, and that's pretty new within the last couple of years anyway.
So I heard no need for a wetland permit. No need for a, site law, right? You don't need the big
No.
stormwater permit.
No. And
Is anything else, general permit?
So it will, when there's a contractor lined up, the state requires submission of an NOI permit. So
Okay.
that could be something that would be like possibly a condition of approval to the final, is that that NOI would have to be submitted to the state of Maine.
And that's through, yeah, DP?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yep.
Aside from that, that's it,
Yep.
right? Okay.
And the contractor is just for the infrastructure, right? All the individual lots will be sold off.
Correct.
Like the road.
Yeah, it would be constructing the roadway, the drainage, the underground electric, and then the lots will be sold off.
There's no like designated builder or anything like that.
Not at this time, no.
Could we just talk a second about the veg buffers? So currently you're proposing veg buffer, oh, not that one, along the southern,
Yeah.
but not the east-western?
Not the
correct?
western at this time. Does the town
Okay.
have any specific standards for that particular roadside buffer that's required as part of the cluster?
I don't think we have
I
standards.
just looked up the language and it says that if there is wooded vegetation in there, it has to be maintained except for cuts for driveways and roads. So there's nothing in the ordinance right now that requires a planted buffer along there.
But we could discuss, right, if we wanted to add anything in there, require it. I wasn't at the site visit, but it does sound like it's pretty bare right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so both sides, the whole thing, right, kind of bare?
Well, on this side here, we do have like a drainage pipe kind of going through. We really wanted to try to get that drainage pipe back out to the roadside ditch. So there is an under drain going through there, but that front area, it's currently like grass today, or there's a lot of ditch, so a lot of the ditch grading extends kind of into it. But for the most part, this area here, it's grass today.
Okay. And would you be able to put trees? Where would you be able to put trees if you did? Would it be on the further side? You said there was like a drainage ditch, like with that?
Yeah, it would probably just be kind of closer to this side right here.
Okay. Okay. What are our thoughts on that?
Where's there's an existing tree line that's set back from the road. Where's that?
Yeah, so this is the existing
That's it, okay.
tree cluster, and then there was some trees in this area here. So
You're
when we,
saving that.
yeah, we're trying to save as much of this as we can. And then there are a good stand of trees right in this location here, which will be preserved, and then we're trying to replant some buffering there. And as I noted, this grading here will be pulled back 20 feet, so that will be more in this area.
Oh yeah, I think if the developer's amenable to putting some wood or some screen.
Okay, we'll look into that.
Landscape screen.
It's part of the
Yeah.
final.
That'd be nice. Thank you. For the final plan, I think, I know that we'll need to see where the tree clearing will be.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That'll be on the final plan set.
Yes.
Okay.
And an upgrade on the location of the detention basins too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think we talked about showing the adjoining houses on the next plan set, just being able to see where they are. Just as a reminder.
Are you opposed, if we were to add as a condition of approval here, are you opposed to not performing any construction between May and August 15th?
Not performing tree clearing.
Tree clearing, right.
Between, what were those dates?
May 15th and August 15th.
Yeah, that seems to, I'd like to at least pass that by the applicant, make sure that, I mean, with the ultimate approval of this, we would be looking into probably July anyway for construction start sometime in maybe August, September. But there's not a substantial amount of tree clearing to begin with on this property. Especially the trees that would support any sort of bat habitat would really probably be just with any tree clearing associated with this roadway to be cut in through here. I think that's the only area that would support. But I think it's something we can consider. I would just like to talk with that before we make,
I mean, there was considerable amount of tree clearing within the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, it's pretty sparse,
Yeah, it is.
unfortunately.
Very
You know,
much
for a
so.
cluster, we like to maintain as much as we can.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's unfortunate that it was cleared recently. Yeah. It is pretty sparse there now. Okay, thank you for considering that.
Should we look at the draft conditions of approval?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
I'd love to. Would you like to go through that, Alan?
Do we want to read
I
all of
could
them?
summarize them, if that would be helpful.
Yeah.
That would definitely would be.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is the standard requirement of designating that the planning board is gonna require a peer review of all the engineering for the project. And also, given the cluster lot questions, they will also review the calculations of the building envelopes for each lot, as well as the building site provisions for the cluster lots. Just double check their calculations. The construction estimates for the performance guarantee will include the road construction, the electrical service, the stormwater management, and the erosion and sedimentation controls. Where there is no fire pond, that would not be included. The ordinance requires that they submit within 6 months of their preliminary approval, the final application. However, if for some reason they have delays, they can come back and request an extension of that. That's COA number 3. 4 is the approval of DEP if necessary, and it appears that that would not be necessary, so you could probably delete that from the 4. The edit, notwithstanding the DEP exemption, they still have to meet the town's stormwater and erosion control, which are basically the same as DEP. But that can be done as part of the subdivision review.
Shall we talk while you go through this, or do?
Yeah, if you'd like
Okay,
to.
that one,
Sure.
the permit one, I think we do want to keep in the NOI permit.
Well, that is really just a notice requirement, right? After
Yes.
approval.
NOI, yeah, it's a notice of intent to start construction, right? Yeah, but I mean, just
That's mainly
saying,
like for the erosion control certification of the contractor and
Correct.
stuff like that. Yeah. we could put that in as a standard. It's probably a standard condition for the for the
Absolutely.
final.
Absolutely, yes, that's what I meant, the final,
Yeah,
yes,
but it's
yes,
preliminary,
yes.
it's not necessary.
But there's nothing else needed aside from that, in my opinion, right? Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Number 6 in the draft, conditions would be vegetative clearing being shown on the final plans, which was discussed.
Mhm.
7, was the, submitting the street, proposed street name, for addressing by the town's addressing officer. 8 is the engineered drawings, meeting all requirements of appendix 1. 9 is the limits of clearing being shown on the plans and referenced in the deeds. 10 is the construction estimate for all of those. And part of this is documenting that at the final plan, they will meet all of the specific requirements. So that's, some of it's repetitive.
Mhm.
11 is the, again, include all DEP permits if required and, any easements. So for example, in the open space, which is gonna be owned by the
Down
association,
here, there's
there
drainage.
should be drainage easements so that they can go on and do that maintenance, and that should be clarified in those documents.
Mhm.
Number 12 is the actual documents that, are gonna be done by the homeowners as well as the association. And the town does provide a template for that that's been approved by the town attorney. If they want to do something different, they can do that, but they have to cover the cost of a town attorney legal review of those documents. The templates are available on the website. The 13th is the board's actual approval of the cluster plan. Yeah, and finally, number 14 is that issue of them providing the financial security for the construction of all the project as a condition of final approval. Now, I did add one that I discussed in terms of that issue of the actual developer and their financial and technical capacity. So on number 10, I think it was, I added that they provide documentation of the technical experience of Rivi LLC as opposed to some other developer who has done different projects that are listed in their application.
I would like to recommend that we do add in the back claim here. The specific language.
No tree removal between
No
May 15th and August 15th.
Yeah, yep, no tree clearing between May 15th to August 15th.
And the applicant indicated they want to check with their client, and you could modify that at the final if necessary.
Great. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else you want to add there?
I would move that we accept the preliminary subdivision approval of Ivy Ridge subdivision as narrated and presented to us.
I'll second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Very much.
Okay.
If I can just say here, next project.
By the way. Okay, new business. Request for conditional use approval for expansion of the Ripley Jaden gravel pit at 1104 Hollowell Road, map 7, lot 57. Public comment will not be taken during this presentation. I will say that we have received lots of public comments through the town planner, and there will be a public comment period that's not happening today. So as long as everybody understands that, thank you for your patience, but there will be, if this continues, there will be a public comment period in the future. Thank you. And all of your comments will go in record. We have them. George has been keeping a file of them. And, they'll be distributed or made available when the time comes. Thank you.
So we did have a chance last week to download the planning board.
Sorry,
sorry.
are you the applicant who's
Yes.
serving? Would you
Yes.
mind just
Yes.
like,
Craig Burgess with Acorn Engineering. I'm here today on behalf of Jaden Landscaping.
so Jaden Landscaping is the
Yes,
applicant?
Jaden Landscaping Inc.
Inc.
Yep.
Thank you.
We did have a chance to download the planning board packet for this project early this week and spend some more time over the last couple of days to review the checklist items as well as some of the staff comments. And some of those comments are fairly substantial, and we understand that, and we would like some more time to provide thoughtful responses to those comments and make sure we get through some of these checklist comments, and understanding that this is an after the fact permit. The applicant would like to table the review of this project tonight so that we can provide better responses to a lot of the items that have come up as part of this project. I tried to get ahead of that earlier today, and I understand that's to table an item. That's something that the planning board needs to take a vote on. And that's just in consideration of the substance of some of these comments that the application that's in front of you tonight does not respond to. So we would like to some additional time to provide some better thoughtful responses to those comments.
Could you generally just summarize what the application is for?
Sure. So this is it's an existing gravel pit. It was previously approved, as noted in this picture here, around 2021 for a 5-acre pit. And the applicant recently acquired it and also acquired an adjacent parcel. And there's been some existing flattening of the site throughout this parcel that's on the screen here to the west, as well as the parcel to the east, as noted, as shown here. So this is being considered an after the fact application. We did have the opportunity to meet with most of the public that you see here today as part of DEP's public informational meeting requirement. So we have submitted it's an NOI, but it's also, there's a variance aspect to it because we're looking to go bigger than a 10-acre pit. The pit that you're looking at on the screen today, that is roughly 14.75 acres of mined area. The proposed project is proposing a 13-acre pit area. So where the intent of the conditional use amendment application is to formalize both of these lots, which will be combined into one as a single operating pit of roughly 13 acres. We did have an opportunity to hear from the public last week, so we understand what the complaints have been so far, or have a general understanding of it, as well as reviewing the planning board packet. And there's a number of items that we'd like to just provide a more detailed response on before we really open this up to comment from the planning board. We understand that. So that is the reasoning why we're proposing to table this, just provided the items that are missing from the application that were recommended as part of the checklist.
Well, I don't think that our comments will change much, so I still would like to go through the application and confirm what our comments are.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, that is on the completeness of the application as opposed to the substance of the application.
Absolutely, correct, yes, yeah. Completeness. Yeah.
Can I just ask, we just looked at another gravel pit, right?
Yes,
Okay, this is separate area.
Yeah.
Separate everything, right?
Yeah.
Not anything related. Okay, thank you.
the other one's further south.
That was
of the
Jackson.
line.
Nothing to do with this one.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my thought is that, I don't think it's worth anyone's time right now to go through this. If you are looking to submit additional materials and answer questions that I think the public has. So my vote is that we give you time to do that. However, yeah, there are issues I think that are not gonna go away that maybe we might want to discuss today. Maybe even just for our benefit to get some answers, or at least for you to take back and to look
Yeah,
into
I
further.
probably don't have the answers to much tonight, but
Right, but you could hear the questions and then you take those back.
Yeah.
You know, so. In other words, I don't think we should go through the substantive review at all, but possibly we could bring up some
Yeah,
questions.
but I wasn't
concerns we have.
suggesting going through the substantive review, just
okay.
through the checklist
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
of what's missing.
okay, what's missing?
Yes.
I don't even know about what's missing, because if we have to identify what's missing, that means we have to go, you know?
It's outlined in page
Right, but,
toward the end of toward the end of the PDF.
right, but that would mean we'd have to go through, like, kind of go through the application, and if they're saying it's not complete, then.
But could I address this? Because I think it's important for the board and the applicant to recognize that this is a follow-up to an enforcement action of the town. And the code enforcement officer issued 2 notices of violation and required the applicant to rectify those violations. And so the application is filed, for use amendment, was done in response to an order of the town related to those violations. So, the timeliness of the response is an issue. In most cases, you give deference to an applicant. But in this particular enforcement matter, I think it's very, important to keep the process going and make sure that it's done according to proper procedures. So I think tonight you should issue a formal letter of incomplete application.
Okay.
And then the applicant will know, for the record, what it is the board's gonna require, as opposed to come back next month and determine that there's not, and roll it down. So I think it's very important to establish, and I did provide the applicant and the packet and board members with a comprehensive checklist. And one of the comments that I made in my notes is that the current application has a lot of general statements without associated supporting documentation. In particular areas that I identified, that many of the public comments that you've received will highlight those issues of noise impacts. There are standards in the ordinance, and there are studies that need to be done in order to verify compliance with those noise limits or non-compliance with the noise limits. There are traffic issues involved. There was a traffic fatality at the entrance, and they should submit a traffic log of how many trucks are coming out of there. And I've suggested that a log for the past year would provide both the board as well as a traffic engineering consultant with the data they need to determine the safety or lack thereof of that existing entrance for continuation of the original permit, and certainly for expansion onto the adjacent property. This is in an aquifer protection district, and the DEP inspection indicated that the storage of a 500-gallon diesel tank on site did not have DEP standards. The town's aquifer protection standards are higher than that. Town's standards indicate that wherever you're storing any type of hazardous fluids, you have to create a containment dike that is impervious for the content, as well as a 15% margin beyond that. So they need to provide not just the borings of where the groundwater table is, but an assessment of what existing violations are there now and what corrective actions have been taken. we don't have any of that documentation. So I think it's critically important that the board require those documentation items of, for the sound, for the traffic, and for the groundwater. And the reclamation plan, is very generic, just like much of the other data. And some of these areas have excavated up to and potentially across property lines, not respecting the 100-foot setback from the property line. It was in the original permit that was approved. And so there are obviously some issues of not just reclaiming the pit when they're done. It's also restoring the 100-foot buffers that were violated during the past practices. And all of that leads to a question of the financial and technical capacity of the applicant to do either the prior permit, which is a violation, or to expand onto the abutting property if they're not even knowing where their property lines are, or they're not understanding that the stated 100-foot buffer requires no disturbance within that 100 feet, then there are real questions about their financial and technical capacity that need to be addressed.
Mm.
And then finally, I did in the notes the issue of right title of interest. This project is being proposed by Jaden Landscaping LLC, and they are not the owners of the property. The owners of the property are Brunswick Trucking LLC. Now, we're assuming there's some sort of a relationship there, but that really needs to be documented, because who is getting the permit and who's responsible for following the permits. So all those issues, I think, should be spelled out. And I did prepare the checklist and for all of those items. And then I've also prepared a draft letter of incompleteness, which will put it on the record.
Very helpful. Thank you so much. Yes, so I agree.
Yes,
Let's
we
go
should
through
just
it.
go through it.
Absolutely. But can I ask 2 questions, just kind of a beginning things? When did the applicant buy the pit?
Believe it was, it should be, it's 2020.
December 2021.
Thank you.
Okay, so ahead, before the violation happened.
That
So,
was the original.
like,
when
did you
it
say a
was-
Yeah,
recent
no, I have to go-
transaction happened?
I'm gonna go back and look at the documents. That should be in the deed.
The original one that was presented to the planning board is in 2021.
Yeah.
Right.
But that
Yeah,
was,
so-
that was for a 5-acre.
I mean, the recent, you
Yeah,
mentioned
there's,
that,
there's a second lot that the pit is expanded into that was recently purchased.
Correct.
Yeah.
I
So you're
think,
asking about
yes,
that.
yes.
I think it'd be good to note for the public that the documentation checklist that we're looking at tonight is actually on the website. If you went under and looked at the agenda for this meeting, you can see that information that we will be reviewing.
Looks like June of 2025,
Okay,
Yeah.
so less than a year ago.
June 12th, 2025 was the deed, recorded deed.
Okay,
Thank you.
and right before the violation. I think violation's October 25.
Lots?
The lot to the left. The dog, no, to the right, I'm sorry, to the right, the dog leg work that has frontage on Rabbit Road.
Okay, and then my second question is there a timeline on the violation? Apologies if it's in here, that you're
We'll have
supposed
to go through that. That was one of the items that George brought up that we have to document.
Right, like I'm just, is there a timeline the state has given you?
It's pretty much as soon as possible. Yeah,
possible,
so
okay.
that's why we got the
There is a specific timeline. Yeah, I'll find it.
Okay, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
once we were engaged to assist on the permitting of this. Part of the delay on our end was we had to provide a boundary survey for this parcel here.
Mhm.
There is an existing boundary survey for this parcel, but we didn't have any information on that one. So there was a little bit of time that it took just to complete that boundary survey.
And you were brought into this recently.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So the DEP deadlines were December 31st, 2025 and June 30th, 2026.
So before the end of the year, we did submit a transfer of ownership
Yeah.
application to DEP.
Yeah, so that's been complete,
Yep.
but by June 30th, 2026, DEP has another list of
Mm,
items that they need to, so what, um, yeah, that's in the packet.
Thank you.
What, violations have been rectified?
I'll have to get back to the board as part of the supplemental info.
Okay. All right, so we want to go through the checklist.
Mhm.
And this is checklist of incomplete items that we're going to go through. Is that right, George?
Yes. Let me see if I can get that up.
Okay.
Again, this is to verify compliance with Articles 5, 7, 10, and 14. 5 are the noise standards, 7 are the conditional use criteria. Article 10 is the aquifer, and Article 14 are the gravel pit standards. And I can just walk you down through this if that'll help.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first issue is the narrative, fully addressing the scope of the January 5th, 2022 conditional use approval, the nature, timing, and extent of excavation beyond the approved 5-acre pit, the nature, timing, and extent of excavation on lot 60A, that's the second parcel, and any work crossing the original lot line, total acreage disturbed to date, and total acreage proposed. Some of that has been stated here tonight, but the record isn't clear in terms of their application. Explicit acknowledgement that excavation occurred beyond the limits approved in 2022. Deeds for the affected lots, you do have those. And then that issue of evidence of right, title, or interest, written consent from Brunswick Trucking LLC, if different from the applicant, or an executed lease, operating agreement, or authorization. A unified project statement explaining how they're going to function as a single operation and how setbacks are calculated across lot lines, because until the parcels are combined, that joint property line theoretically should have a 100-foot buffer on either side of it from each parcel. Again, it's a technical issue that can be solved, but they don't have it right now. DEP permitting status, you've kind of discussed that. They have submitted copies of the notice of intent, I think. And then explanation of whether there's any difference between the two proposals that they're getting from DEP and the town, and a written statement regarding their applicability of site location of development for gravel pits.
Sorry, George, can I just,
Yeah.
I just want to confirm that we do have, or it's already been included, what was submitted at the end of December 2025.
Yeah, that's the notice of intent to transfer.
All of that was submitted?
I think that was in your submittal, right?
I'm not 100% sure.
I think
It was sent to DEP, so it's up there.
Right, right,
I think it was attached to the conditional use application. While you're looking for that, I'll keep going. A comprehensive plan set, there is in the application, there are comprehensive plans, but they're less than clear in terms of what the existing areas as built are, including the clear designation of authorized and unauthorized areas of the first parcel what is the status of those? Are they in violation? The proposed ultimate excavation limits, they've talked about shrinking it from what it is now, I understand, from 14 plus down to 13. Again, that's not indicated on the plans. The internal lot lines and setback measurements, the acreage calculations, clearly delineating the originally approved pit area and area excavated beyond that approval. the total disturbed area, existing and proposed, the topography with sufficient contour detail to evaluate slopes and drainage. Setback plans, 100 feet from all property lines, 200 feet from public roads, 100 feet from any wells. Buffer and berms, and one of the issues is that, as I stated earlier, they have compromised the 100-foot buffers on several locations, and they should show their reclamation plan restoring those areas, not just vegetating the slopes, because if they cut a 100-foot buffer and the and the slopes go down away from the edge of the pit, any landscaping you do is gonna have zero effect for buffering. So that needs to at least be addressed in the application, what they're going to do to remediate that. Stockpile processing areas, equipment locations, and fueling areas should be shown clearly. Access roads and internal haul roads. Excuse me. A comprehensive reclamation and closure plan covering all previously disturbed areas and all proposed expansion areas. And the cross-section, as I stated, is generic. They should show those areas that were violated and show the not just the reclamation of the pit, but the restoration of those areas that were violated. Geotechnical and engineering report demonstrating they do have some borings, but they don't really have an evaluation of how the pit might affect the groundwater. How they're gonna maintain that groundwater separation included in that hydrogeological report. Slope compliance, 2.5 to 1 for the originally approved areas. That's the standard for 5 acres or less, and 3 to 1 for all expanded areas. Cross sections of the existing and proposed reclamation slopes through the original excavation areas, the extended excavation areas, and any areas where the excavation crossed property lines. Erosion and sediment control, drainage buffers, the erosion and sedimentation controls meeting the standards of the ordinance and DEP. The buffer analysis and mapping showing compliance with 14.6E and areas where buffers have been reduced or removed. A vegetation inventory for existing buffered areas, a vegetation restoration plan for compromised buffer areas. Aquifer protection and hazardous materials, I mentioned that in my comments. The fuel storage is not in compliance and needs to be. A response to the DEP findings, including any corrective actions taken. The reclamation and financial capacity, they should have an estimate for the cost of restoring all of those areas. And the expansion of the pit area when it gets to completion, with timelines for the restoration. Updated reclamation cost estimate and an evidence of financial capacity to complete that and remedy existing violations, complete the reclamation and comply with future approval conditions. Noise and hour of operations, getting a professional noise study according to the standards of the ordinance at the property lines, and any mitigation that they propose to try to mitigate those noise increases, meeting the standards of for 55 decibels daytime, 45 nighttime, and again, mitigation plan for sound impacts. Traffic study or memorandum prepared by qualified transportation engineer addressing current and proposed truck volumes, truck routes and frequency, a log of truck movements in and out of the pit for the past year, site distance and access safety analysis, interaction with residential traffic, an analysis of accident history, including relevance to the access design or operations, measures to prevent recurrence of the accident that happened. Compliance history and technical ability. This gets back to the financial and technical capacity, summary of compliance history, including documented zoning violations, DEP inspection findings, corrective actions taken. And finally, demonstration of technical capacity to implement mitigation measures, maintain groundwater separation, monitor noise and traffic impacts, and follow approved plans and approval conditions.
Thank you.
Looking at the last, I think the last letter that came from Town of Durham, February this year. There were two options there. One of them was, 30 days of the notice, you either must submit a complete conditional use permit application for the expanded area or enter into a consent agreement with the town to reduce it to a 5-acre limit. Was it the second one that was done?
Yeah, we're going to try to permit the.
So it's the first one.
Can you repeat that again?
Sorry, there was two options. The first one is you submit a complete conditional use permit application for the expanded area.
Yes,
The
that's,
second one was you reduce your operations down to a 5-acre limit. And then you comply, you try and comply with the 5-acre limit. So was either one of those chosen, do you know?
I believe the first.
Okay, so that says within 30 days. That was sent in February.
Like March 11th.
So I'm
So
just sorry, I'm just getting into this now. So I'm just curious, why, was there another letter sent out or anything?
Yeah, there was a second letter.
There is, okay.
Yeah. Again, I'll have to confirm with the applicant on that. They did engage us around that time frame, and to submit the conditional use application, there's work that was needed to get that done, including that survey. So it's not as easy as just submitting the conditional use, because that information, there was information to be collected as part of it. And obviously a lot more too, so.
Okay. And is the pit still active right now?
Yeah.
Very.
Okay. So that wasn't part of the enforcement or anything like that?
I have been discussing that with the town attorney.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the notes, the packet, and the last one I have is from February. I don't have anything beyond that.
Oh, if you go to,
It's in another one.
the PDF. Is that it?
I have the chronological record. Right in there.
PDF, page 203.
You see it?
No, so there's one from July 15th, 2025.
Yep. November. And then
Then
February. I meant Town of Durham, the Town of Durham.
Yep, the second one, Town of Durham, is from February 2026.
Yeah, so there's the one I see too. Yeah.
Okay, so not one after that. Okay, that's the last
And in
one.
between that was the DEP.
Right, got that one.
And so from what we've heard is that the only thing that's been addressed is the notice of transfer was submitted to DEP.
Mhm.
None of the town violations have been addressed.
Right.
From what we've heard.
Okay. So it's being discussed.
Well, just to clarify, the filing of the conditional use application is a step toward compliance. So noted by the code officer. So it's not complete yet, but it is in process. And typically, when you're dealing with enforcement matters, you give an applicant the opportunity to bring the issue into compliance before you take any enforcement court action. So that's what the process we're involved in right now.
Right, but I'm just looking at this notice. It says submit a complete conditional use permit amendment application within 30 days.
Yes.
Of that
and
notice.
They did not meet that time frame.
Right.
So I'll have to get back to you on whether or not the second option was chosen as the path.
I mean, is the pit active in the whole area?
I don't know the answer to that.
It's not,
DEP states it's 3.8 acres that's active.
And this is an enforcement issue anyway, right?
Right.
well, it's
Yeah.
just not our purview.
Right.
Sorry, yes. It's hard not to.
I know. Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that we allow the applicant to review the documentation checklist. We will postpone this application until that has been satisfied.
Can I just
So
clarify?
are you saying this is an incomplete application?
Definitely is an incomplete application.
Would you like to revise your motion?
I would recommend that we allow the applicant to complete the documentation list because the application submitted to us today is incomplete.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
And a general note with that, so the public knows, the planning board has nothing to do with enforcement.
Understood, yeah. We're talking about a checklist.
I
Checklist incomplete.
totally agree. I
Yeah.
just want people to understand that.
George, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, I think the intent is to follow the checklist that you just reviewed in terms of what is incomplete.
Correct.
Correct. And so we have a letter that will follow up with this, that we issued to you. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
The heat coming off of this.
Okay, next,
Just gonna turn the light on.
Sure.
Yeah, we should worry about how many rally.
Right.
Okay, last, other business, planning board discussion on May 20th, hearing on draft land use ordinance amendments. No public comment will not be taken.
They have any.
We were supposed to be on the last select board's agenda to discuss this, but it didn't happen. So we're gonna be presenting Tuesday night.
Correct.
And they'll vote on it. I believe they're gonna vote on it that night. And then May 20th, the following week, will be the last public hearing on the amendments.
I thought tonight it'd just be good to go over what the plan is for the public hearing next week. And we've done, like all last fall, we did public hearing, public information meetings, public hearing. And so pretty much all the stuff's out there. It's all been vetted multiple times. And so the intent for next Wednesday would just simply be give an opportunity for people to ask questions as opposed to go through a presentation of everything like we've done multiple times. And we've always talked about that the May 20th, the formal legal public hearing, you can't make any changes. So it's just a matter of giving people the opportunity without having to ask a town meeting on the floor, what is that provision? It's an opportunity. So basically what we would do is just go down through the transmission letter. Ryan can do that at the public hearing, as you'll do next Tuesday night, and just say, here are the 7 major minor policy issues and 10 administrative changes, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have on any of those. So we just did want to clarify, everybody knows what to expect next week.
And that's the select board meeting,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, not the.
Tuesday.
May 20th, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Tuesday's the select board meeting,
Yeah,
and then
that's
the
correct.
20th is our
Is the public hearing, which we'll be doing right here like we've always done.
Yeah.
But again, no presentation other than just listing what they are and being prepared to answer questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're more than welcome to go to the select board meeting, but you're not needed there. George and I will present, but May 20th would be good if you all could show up.
Yeah. We'll do that.
Be here.
Great. I had just one other thing. I should have added this to the agenda. Durham Heights. We had given them 30 days to install soil erosion. What's 30 days? 30 days, 30 days, 30 work days, 30 calendar days.
Usually if it's not specified, it would be the work days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They said they'd do it like tomorrow, so
What's that?
they said they'd do it immediately.
Yeah,
They-
right. It hasn't been done yet,
Yeah.
so just wanted to clarify what the 30 days.
A really great question.
Anybody have anything else this evening? Mr. Pemberton?
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Great. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good meeting.
Power on this recording saved somewhere.
You know, you just
Or